My name is Tricia Duras. I'm your town clerk and also very proud to be a member of the Diversity and Racial Equity and Inclusion Committee. And I'm excited to get to know all of you. Thank you all for applying. It was great that they put us all on this committee because I think many hands will make light work, and a lot of great ideas should come out of it. So I noticed that you got, some of you have been coming into the office and you got sworn in and you dropped off your letters and your acknowledgement of receipt for both the conflict of interest and the open meeting law. So that's great. If you haven't, that's fine too. What I'm going to have everybody do that's here, and hopefully if we are missing a few members so far, but I would like to get everybody sworn in that hasn't been sworn in yet. So if you could all raise your right hands and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Ryan
Petriroy,
Solemnly swear and affirm
solemnly swear and affirm
to faithfully and impartially
to faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon me
all the duties incumbent upon me
as a member of the Diversity, Racial Equity, and Inclusion Committee.
As a member of the Diversity,
Racial and Inclusion
Racial Equity and Inclusion Committee. There we go.
Good job. For a term expiring June 30th, 2020.
For a term expiring.
It does not need to be 2021.
Oh, I'm sorry, 2021.
Yeah, for a term expiring June 30th, 2021.
Excellent. You are so sworn. Congratulations, everybody. Thank you very much. I'll catch up with our participants that either came in the middle of that or afterwards. I could do it via Zoom, or they can come in the office and get sworn in as well. So now that we have taken care of item number 2 on the agenda, item number 3 is introduction of members. So I will start, I thought alphabetically would be the easiest way to do it. So is Lauren on? Lauren is not here. Okay, so Lauren Cochrane was first. I don't know if anybody had a chance to look over the applications that were on the Board of Selectmen's agenda. If you did, what I know of Lauren Cochrane is that she's been a teacher at the Chelmsford High School for many, many years, drama teacher, and she's been a member of the social justice Facebook page as well. And I think she was part of the Get Out the Vote drive that was recently held as well on the Common. So hopefully she'll pop in here at some point soon. Hi, Latosha's here and Rachel's here. Okay, good. So then, just because my list came up, Carly, is Connor your first part of your last name? Connorine. Okay, so would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm very happy to be part of this committee. My name is Carly Connorine. I've lived here in Chelmsford for 25 years. I'm originally from Long Island. I'm married 27 years this Saturday, to my husband, my lovely husband, and we have one son who's a Chelmsford grad, who also just graduated from college. I'm also one of the board members for the Chelmsford Dog Park, and I'm in software security sales.
Good. I don't think Jagar Kumar is on. Nope, he's not here. And then was me. I told you I'm the town clerk, and the reason I joined I was interested in this committee is mostly because I was a foster mom for many years, so I saw some of the issues that were that they had to deal with, those 4 kids that I had in my home. But my daughter's also a teacher in the Boston Public School System, so she's constantly reminding me of my own biases in a very gentle and kind way. And she's just made me want to become more aware and involved and help the cause. And so that's why I'm here. Mostly, I think I can bring more organizational aspects to the committee. And if anything needs to be tracked, of course, the clerk's office is a great place for that. But anything else that I can be of service, I'm here to help in any way. Jennifer,
Hi.
Oh, hi, Jennifer.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Genino. I'm a Chelmsford mom. I've lived in Chelmsford for about almost 20 years now, and I have 6 children, and almost all of them have completed through the Chelmsford school system. I've got a 14-year-old who's a freshman now, and I have one who graduated and he's 31. So I've been here for a long time. I'm originally from Bronx, New York.
Great, welcome. Phil. Phil
Okay,
Hicks.
I'm Phil Hicks. Let's see, I've been here in Chelmsford. I was just trying to do the math here for 34 years. Have 3 kids, raised them all here in Chelmsford. They all went to Chelmsford High, and luckily they're all employed and they have health insurance, so that's a good thing. That's how I measure my personal success, is making sure that they're out and able to take care of themselves. So it's good in that regard. In terms of my own background, I'm from Cincinnati originally, and from a work standpoint, I'm no longer working. I've been retired for the last just almost 3 years after 38 years in HR management, diversity, and employee relations, and conflict resolution. So I've done a number of things in that space, and hopefully I can bring some of that experience to some sort of a useful contributions to the group.
Very good. And I think I skipped Rachel Donovan. Sorry, Rachel. My list is not complete. So how about you, Rachel? Want to introduce yourself?
No worries. I am new to Chelmsford. My family moved here in December, so a little less than a year. With my wife, who's actually grew up in Chelmsford, so a lot of family ties here, a lot of extended family in the area. And I have 2 young kids in the daycare age currently, who will be growing up here. This work is very important to me, and I'm here to help and make the change that we can.
Welcome. Welcome to Chelmsford. Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, Margaret, I skipped you. Margaret Feeney.
Hello. I actually grew up in Chelmsford. I graduated from Chelmsford High 23 years ago. And I actually just moved back. I left after high school, moved back in June with my husband. My family has stayed in Chelmsford, so I've always kept ties to Chelmsford. I have a master's degree in social work and a heavy focus on anti-racism, ableism, all the isms pretty much. And I work at Everett High School. I have a big, long, fancy title, but I'm basically just an outpatient therapist working with all of the high school students.
Very good. Thank you. Welcome. Charisse Lattimore. Hi, Charisse.
Hello, how is everyone? I'm Charisse Lattimore, and I've been living in Chelmsford for about 34 years with my husband, who I've been married. Well, actually, I should reverse that. Yeah, 32 years and 34 married to 30. And we have 3 children, adult children, who were class of 2010, 2013, and 2015. And they've gone through the entire Chelmsford school system. I've served on the PTO. I also was a board member for the Chelmsford Center for the Arts for 2 years. And I also am a deaconess at my church. I served in that position for over 20 years now. And I work for Merck Pharmaceuticals as a vaccine representative. And I've been with them for 34 years. And I was recently appointed as the diversity and inclusion ambassador for our region. So I'm very excited to be here. And I also have a dog, Dylan. I forgot to tell you that, Cockapoo, and he's 15 years old.
Wow.
So I'm really excited about participating in this. And it's so exciting to see that Chelmsford is getting on board with diversity inclusion, because I know throughout my kids' school years, it would have been nice to see some people of color that look like them, and just it's time. And I'm very excited and very proud of Chelmsford for stepping forward in this direction.
That's great. Thank you and welcome. Susan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Susan McKinnon. I've lived in Chelmsford, I think, for 36 years now. My husband and I raised 4 children, all now adults, all went through Chelmsford schools. Their entire school career. I was really involved in PTOs and things. I also am a retired teacher. I was a special ed and early childhood teacher for over 30 years. 16 of those were in Chelmsford. So I've retired 3 years ago. I'm a town meeting rep, precinct 7. I ended up getting on this committee. Well, I heard about it through, I guess, my connection with getting emails about town things, but I was really, really impressed with the rally that the young people in town held here early in the summer. And one of the main speakers had actually been in my class as a kindergarten student, and he really inspired me to take action about racial equity and diversity and things. So I decided getting on this committee was a direct way to make change here in town.
That's great. Thank you. Welcome. Jason. Hi, how are you? Who do you would like to introduce yourself, Jason?
Hey, it's actually Joe, but it's okay that
I'm
mistake
sorry,
happens.
Joseph. I'm
It's
so
okay.
sorry.
It happens daily at work. I actually
I think it's
work.
because your last name is Mason, right? The J and the Mason.
It is. It literally
Sorry,
happens every
Joseph.
day. Yep. So I go by Joe. I work in software sales, and I'm actually new to the area. I have Rachel beat by a month. I moved here at the end of January. So I'm a recent resident of Chelmsford, but I'm originally from Western New York. I moved to this area about 8 years ago now with my wife. We just had our first child about 2 months ago exactly. So I wanted to join this committee because I've always been a part of my community. I formerly served as the vice president of a chamber of commerce where I grew up. I served on various boards to help with organizations that are around community involvement, volunteering, economic empowerment, that sort of thing. And I was really inspired, similar to Susan, when I took part in the Juneteenth march and listened to some of the Chelmsford residents and students speak. I think that right now there's a lot of tense things going on in the world. And I think we need to bring a positive spin to it and help everybody. So I'm really looking forward to working with everybody and also learning from other people.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. Brian.
Hi, my name is Brian Petriroy. I was born in Lowell, moved here in 1984. So I grew up here, CHS class of 96 as well. Lived in Tewksbury for a short stint, 10 years or so, and then moved back here in 2013. My wife and I have 2 kids, 8 and 6, that are both going through the CPS system. And I joined basically because I was also inspired by the rallies that were held over the summer, and I would actually like to start walking down the up escalator instead of just standing on it.
Good. Very good. Thank you, Brian. And Latosha. Hi. Welcome. Can you unmute or you need me to help?
Nope, I got it. Hello, everyone. I am Latasha. I am a fairly new resident to Chelmsford. I've been living here 2 years now. It is me and my 12-year-old son. His name is Mateo. Currently, I still have him enrolled at Lowell Catholic School. And it was because I didn't see much diversity when I went and visited the Chelmsford public schools. So with that, I felt like being on this committee would be a good way to meet people in Chelmsford, get to know them, and then perhaps contribute to some change so that I will feel more comfortable bringing my son into the Chelmsford public school systems. I work for Pfizer, a large pharmaceutical company. I am a senior scientist, and in addition to that, I also lead a colleague resource group specifically for Black colleagues, but any and everyone is welcome to join. I have actually organized quite a few events this year just because of what's happening in our country. We've done everything from a candlelight visual for Mr. George Floyd to Juneteenth events, Martin Luther King events. So I try to contribute in a positive way, as Brian mentioned. I also try to educate people about the importance of diversity and inclusion. And I joined this committee because I want to see some positive changes in the community that I live in.
Well, thank you, everybody. It's really nice to meet you all, and hopefully someday we'll be able to meet in person. With such a large committee, it's going to be tough to meet in person for a while, but in the meantime, we'll do the best we can with this medium. The next item on our agenda is that we're going to accept nominations for the officers. That's our first order of business. And so there's going to be a chairman, a vice chairman, and a clerk. And I don't know how anybody feels about the process of doing this. We just want to go around and toss out nominations, or if anybody's really interested in serving on any of those positions, they want to step up right away and express that interest. That, I think, make it easier for the rest of us. So how about if we start that way and say, does anybody want to be chair of this committee? Okay. I don't see any hands flying up. So then somebody does need to be chair and vice chair in case the chair can't make it, and a clerk to record the minutes. So we'll start by nominations. Again, I'll try to go in order of alphabetical this time, but not going to do so great. Carly, did you have anybody that you'd like to nominate for chair?
Nominate Phil.
Sorry.
Phil?
Oh, Phil. Okay, very good. Okay. All right. And I would also like to nominate Phil. And let's see, Rachel.
Latasha.
Okay. And Margaret?
I would like to nominate Sharice.
Okay. And Jennifer?
Sharice.
Okay. Let's see. Phil?
Sharice as well.
Okay. And let's see. Sharice? You're muted.
Latasha.
Latasha. Okay. And Susan?
It nominates.
I'm sorry. What?
I feel like I know anyone well enough yet to really know who.
I know it is.
I suppose Phil.
Okay. And Joe?
Latasha.
Okay. And Brian?
Sharice and Latasha had very good credentials, but Phil's retired, so he may have the most time.
Oh, is Phil your nominee?
Sure.
Okay.
Go with that.
Okay. And Latasha? Can I hear Latasha, your nominee, please?
Yes, I love the last response. So I'm going to nominate Bill.
Phil. Okay. Oh, aren't you strategic? Okay. So Phil has 3 nominations. Latasha and Sharice each have 2. So Phil, do you accept the chairmanship of the Diversity and Racial Equity?
Sure. Yep.
Very good. Okay. We have a chairman. Mr. Chair, would you like me to continue with the rest of the offices, or do you want to take over from here?
Oh, that's fine. You can continue if you
Just until we get the officers elected, and then you're taking over the meeting. How's that? Okay, so since Latasha and Sharice each got 2 votes for chair, do we want to just go ahead and decide which one of those 2 should be vice chair, or did you have other ideas in mind?
No, I think that makes perfect sense. The thing that we didn't do is to ask to see if either of them had a real special interest in wanting to do that. So they one may be more excited than the other, so to speak. So
I'll let you ask that question then, Phil.
So between the 2 of you, Sharice, do you have a strong interest in working in with us on heading up the organization?
I would say this, I think Latasha has a little more experience in the area than me. So if she's willing to do it, if not, I will assume the role.
Latasha?
Yes, I'm willing. Yes, I'm willing to accept it.
Excellent.
Okay, Latasha.
We didn't really vote on the whole thing, but okay, so I guess we're supposed to do that. All in favor. So first we'll do you, Phil. All in favor of Phil Hicks as chairman, please raise your hands, say aye.
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 Okay, very good. Anybody opposed? No. All in favor of Latasha as vice chair, please raise your hands and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No, all in favor. Very good. All right, now the fun job is clerk. Now I'm just going to go ahead and just because my title is town clerk, I do have an election coming up. So right now I'm going to kind of take a back seat. So just because that's my title, please don't nominate me as clerk. That's okay. Can we start with anybody that's interested in becoming the clerk for this committee? Okay. I take some nominations then from the committee. I'm not going to go in order anymore. How about if I start, actually, I'll just start with you, Latasha. Let's start at the back of the alphabet. Do you have any nominations for clerk?
Jim.
Joe. Okay. And let's see, Brian.
I nominate somebody without young children.
Okay, I don't know who that is. Joe?
Jennifer? I don't know.
I know, it's like, we really do like you.
I feel like I'm on Survivor right now. Gonna come back to bite me?
It's a weird way of doing things. Susan?
I'm actually going to go out on a limb here, and I actually will volunteer if we really need someone who want to do it.
Okay, Susan has volunteered to be clerk. All in favor, raise your hands and say aye.
Aye.
And she would, and that was who I was going to select, her or Jennifer.
Okay, thank you, Sue. Okay, so we have our officers. And now I'm going to turn the meeting over to our chairman, Phil. Do you have the agenda in front of you, Phil?
Do.
No? Okay. So item 6 is initial discussion regarding the creation of a mission statement.
Correct, right. So, and I did see that as I figured we'd spend a fair amount of our time today talking about that space. Mission statements are, they can be scary affairs from time to time. So really what my feeling was that we could all kind of, share our ideas as to what we think the real goal of our committee is. One of the things that, I was certainly concerned about, and this is, obviously prior to being in the situation where I'm now the chair of the group, but I'll, concerned about what we would see our real role to be. I've not really seen anything in detail around what the thinking was when there was a decision to create the committee. So I don't know if there were some ideas that the select board had about, our role, what we might be doing. So, again, I would like to have some discussion around that and get a sense of where people are, with regards to, what they think the expectations are of our group. And then I think we need to kind of talk seriously about what we believe the realistic expectations should be. One of the things that I'm clearly will share my biases. One of the things that I'm mightily concerned about is the perception that through this particular committee we'll be able to institute significant changes in the town or some one type or another. I don't know to what degree we have that ability, nor do I know whether that's something that we want to have. My sense is what we should be doing is trying to direct what the select board is looking at, trying to feed them information. They are ultimately the people who are going to be responsible for making any of the changes that we might be suggesting. But again, wanted to kind of get people's input around what they see, our role to be, and what you folks on the committee believe we should be about. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, Phil, but I often find that people can actually create ideas once they have something to chop up. So I put in a draft statement in our chat that we can feel free to redline it, remove anything that's in there that's not relevant to this committee. But I thought it would be a good starting place for us.
Oh, that's great. Is it something you want to share with us now?
Sure. So I sent it to everyone in chat. If you go to the three dots at the end of the Zoom, you should be able to see chat.
Yep.
Okay. So it says the town of Chelmsford recognizes the value in embracing diversity of races, cultures, and ideals. The Diversity, Racial Equality, and Inclusion Committee is committed to promoting inclusion within our community, providing guidance to our governing body about race relations, and encourage learning about different cultures in our schools.
I have a comment about it. Having worked in the schools for a long time, I am very well aware that our curriculum is not diverse at all. And I even wonder if we could be a little stronger in our words than just encouraging learning about different cultures in our schools. I'm embarrassed to say this. I can't tell you how many people think learning about Christmas around the world is learning about different cultures in our schools. And I think we need to put something that might even be a little bit stronger.
What word would you recommend?
I'm not there about what I would, but that's what hit me, is because like I said, I'm embarrassed to say, colleagues I've worked with still think that is what all they need to do to teach about cultures in our schools. And it needs to be more all-encompassing than just learning about different cultures. It needs to something more about really embedding it more in the curriculum.
I like that. I'm taking down that suggestion. We won't edit it right now, but we can come back to it. Does anyone else have a comment?
I'd like to add. Oh, go ahead, Carla.
No, go ahead. Fine.
I have two bits. I want to piggyback off of Susan's comment and say, I wonder, and I don't have the wording on this yet, but I just want to jot down the note of a way to say, like, there's pieces missing in like history, and it's a very taught a very white version of history, and how do we embed a more accurate depiction of history. So I'd like to think about the wording there and come back to that. And then the second bit that I wanted to add is, and I don't know how to say this, but an item that says like, push the town to break down the systems that prevent true racial equality in our community. I'd like to be really strong and optimistic. Not that we could get there, but I'd like to be as strong as possible. And like to give a viewpoint of like this system or this way that we're doing this very innate thing is at its core creating inequity, and really pointing those things out and taking some of that on.
Yeah, I see where that would be something that we can certainly continue to discuss and consider. My concern is to what extent we, if we are saying that we want to take something like that on, to what extent can we in our given role, realistically, push for some real change in that space. So, I just want to make sure that whatever, and I understand that we're just talking now, I want to make sure that whatever we end up including is something that, we can all kind of get behind, but also deliver on. So, I think it's important to have some level of focus and some understanding of scope as we go forward. So that, I would just like to add that comment.
Yeah.
Okay, so one question I have is, in our efforts to educate and engage people in the community, what do we have any guidance on if we will be creating programs in schools and working with other committees throughout the town, participating in town events to get the word out, or is that all for us to decide through this committee?
It's all for us to decide, Carly. The
Okay.
Board of Selectmen kind of did not want to put any framework in place. They didn't want to limit our actions at all. They left it completely up to us to decide the direction and the course that this committee was going to take.
Right. I'm curious, did the board say anything about what their ultimate kind of expectations were with regards to whatever our final output is? You know, I hear what you're saying, this whole idea of, hey, you know, we don't want to put any constraints on you, you do what you want sort of thing. And I don't mean to be dismissive, but you know, lots of times when people hand over that kind of a response to you, there's it's lacking, you know, some of the focus and some of the direction that I think ultimately we're going to need. So that's one of the things that I think we need to be prepared to kind of get clarity on the board with.
Well, actually, the board was very clear, Phil, about the fact that they didn't want to create a charge for us. They wanted us to create our own charge. And this committee is in response to the push from the community that this was needed and necessary in our town. So they were, if you watch, I can't remember which meeting it was, early August, I think. You can watch that committee meeting and you can hear that section of it. I can send you a clip of it. But they were very clear that they just wanted us to drive our own course. And then at the, you know, once we are, you know, we can bring people in and we can have them talk to us and we can talk to them and, you know, whatever, however we want to move forward. But I think creating our own charge and our own mission statement as to what we want to be and what our vision is for the community, we can take into consideration the vision and values, you know, committee that just worked on their vision and values for the town. We can work off of that. We can look at some of the issues and problems that we feel like we're facing in our town and then try to bring those people in to find that common ground. But I think it's really important that we don't defer to the Board of Selectmen. I think that we need to be our own group and instruct them on what we think the town needs. And I think that they'll be open to that.
And Tricia, living in this town as long as we have, many of us, this is a beauty to have this landscape to kind of create what it is we feel that we need to do going forward. And so I agree with you wholeheartedly. If they've given us the charge to, you know, put something out there, then let's do it and let's think big, and they can always cut it down if they need to, and we can have a dialogue, but start somewhere. Yeah.
It's in our hands. We can do whatever, you know, we think that this town and this community needs. So one thing I just wanted to point out, and I'm sure Brian is going to speak at some point, but I read his application, and the last paragraph in his application pointed to Arun's speech on the Common that day on the Black Lives Matter vigil, which was phenomenal. And Brian, you put into quotes a part of his speech that just said Chelmsford should strive to become a place where white and Black and Asian and all races of people want to live, a place that stands as a shining example of a 21st century anti-racist town that shuns racism in all forms actively. I thought that was a very powerful statement when Arun said it, and it really hit me when I reread it in your application. And I personally think that powerful statement or something similar to that would be great to be adding into our mission and vision for the town.
Yeah, I agree.
So
Add it to the chat.
Add it to the chat now.
Yes.
Sure.
You don't have to do it right now.
Oh, thank you. I can email it to you, right?
Okay. But what I was going to say is, Phil, I feel like we have enough people on this call that are going to bring some really great ideas. We can put them all on the table, and we have about 9 months on this committee, and maybe we can divide it up into smaller committees and really see what's feasible to do within this year of this committee. And we might be doing some building blocks for next year to do even more.
That makes sense.
Oh, excuse me. One thing I wanted to add about my bio, I'm about to become one of the chair people for the, oh, what is it called that the schools do, the reading where they invite people in to be readers in all of the
Community
classrooms.
reading.
Community reading. I'm about to become the chairperson for that, for the unforeseen future. And I actually had Arun connect me with a bunch of young people who are going to help me get a more diverse group of readers into the school. So that's the kind of thing I'm really interested in doing, kind of just improving diversity in the schools. So I've already kind of got that started. I've got some names.
Great.
Tricia, oh, sorry, Brian, you've been waiting. Sorry.
Okay. There's just a couple things I wanted to say just in general about the mission statement of this group. And the first thing is that, in my opinion, anybody who looks at this world, this country, this state, and even this town and thinks, this is fine, this doesn't need to change, I like it just the way it is on the wrong side of history. And one of the things we need to do is we need to make people who don't think that change needs to happen understand that change needs to happen. That is one thing that has to be absolutely perfectly clear coming out of this, is this must change because it is bad. And we need to overcome people's reluctance to change. And one way of doing that is, instead of trying to make one big, gigantic, sweeping change all at once that everybody's going to hate, maybe we should try to do it via a bunch of tiny changes that nobody will notice has actually really changed things until it's too late for them to object to it. You know, don't try to do something huge. Move the needle a little bit at a time. Beep, 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 until all of a sudden, hey, we're over here. So those are just two generic ideas.
So it's going to take, I think, several meetings probably, right, Phil, for us to really formulate our thoughts and come up with some a statement that we really feel like says everything that we feel about the direction we want this committee to go in. Because again, a mission statement is just kind of a accumulation of everything that we're, you know, passionately thinking about and what we want to accomplish. So we can continue to talk about that longer tonight if you want, because it is on the agenda. But I think that discussing also our meeting times and frequency, because it, you know, and what we want to bring to the next meetings. What do you think, Phil? Do you think we need to continue brainstorming now, or do you want to?
Well, I think you make a good point. We do need to, you know, kind of nail down what we're going to do with regards to meeting times and that sort of thing. And perhaps, you know, for our next meeting, we can make the, you know, completion of the mission statement, the goal of our next meeting, which would give folks an opportunity to kind of review what we have here, and if there's some other, you know, key pieces that haven't been covered now that we could add to that. Does that make sense, or is there a lot of energy, you know, amongst the group to continue to try to, you know, add to this statement?
Charisse has her hand up. Go ahead, Charisse.
I'll defer to Carly. She hasn't spoken, and then I'll ask my question.
Okay.
I was just going to suggest that, is it a good idea that maybe we should all from this meeting and take a little time to jot down what we think our mission statement should be, and in the next collectively review that, and we can pull ideas from everyone. I think it takes a little time to sit down and really think about what we want.
Right. I think that
Carly would, yeah. Oh, sorry.
Oh.
No, Carly echoed what I was going to say. And also, I was just going to suggest maybe we could look at some other high schools also that have maybe mission statements in place, that they may have a diversity and inclusion. And maybe it doesn't even have to be Massachusetts. It could be, I know some of us are from Ohio, Phil. I wanted to give you a shout out from Ohio. Yeah. But some of us are coming from very diverse backgrounds, where maybe we can bring some of that in from maybe schools that are doing this already and doing it well. You know, we could do that, could be an example that we can bring back to, as well as what Carly was saying is also.
Yeah, and I can look at other towns as well and check with the other clerks and find out if there's any other committees that exist in other towns in Massachusetts and see what they've done so far. Because I think it's, more than just the schools too. It's got to be, like somebody had mentioned earlier, reaching out to other boards and committees and just making sure that the town departments and things like that are also functioning with inclusion in mind.
Would it be appropriate to use something like Google Docs where we could all start adding our versions in together and commenting? I always work well where I can, like Latasha was saying, I want to add a comment to someone else's and steal a few lines. And
we'd have to be careful about commenting as a group on Google Docs because of the open meeting law. So you can't collaborate, outside of a posted meeting, which is annoying because that's the first thing my daughter said. You need Google Docs. You need to do that, and I think we can do that. We can just put them in, but save any exchange of conversation for when we have a posted meeting. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah.
So if I understand correctly, we're putting the information in there. That way we can all have it. But as we, work to make changes and so forth, that's something we would do with, within the confines of our meeting and prepare to share that, after that.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what your comment was about. We can't do Google Docs.
Well, you can do Google Docs, but you can't collaborate within Google Docs. Like you can't deliberate over anything outside of a public meeting. So that's the only thing. So we can put them in and then we can make our own comments as we're putting in what we think, but we can't discuss it outside of a public meeting. That's, it's just one of those odd things about public life.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, so now I don't know if our clerk, Latasha, do you want to start the Google Doc with what you started in the chat and then just send us all a link to it, or?
Well, Susan is our clerk.
Oh, that's right. Susan is our clerk. You're our vice chair. Sorry. I get that stuff straight. So much for bringing organization to the meeting, right? I'm a little tired.
Okay.
If we're adding things to the same Google Docs, aren't we in a way having a conversation about it while we're doing that? Is that really okay?
Are we can just, well, I don't know. I mean, see, I don't know, because this is outside of the realm. And teacher world, you use Google Docs all the time. In town business, we don't. So but I think if you're just putting things in and you're not having an exchange, you're not critiquing within it, I don't know, but I don't know how Google Docs works that well, so.
I honestly don't either. I'm used to receiving Google Docs, but I'm not used to creating them.
Okay, well, maybe Rachel, since she suggested it, can help us out with that.
Maybe we make a pact with each other on the way that we do it. Like I will write my name and then write mine, and I'll maintain my own. And then everyone kind of does that. And then we will wait to talk about it or say, I liked that from yours, or I liked that from yours until the meeting.
I think we can do that.
I was just going to ask Tricia, does that get us around the concern about the Google Docs piece?
Yeah.
Because I know those things can come back and bite us. So I just want to make sure that we're all kind of in the right space there.
Yeah, I think we'll be fine. I don't think anybody's going to be looking to, well, you never know. So I don't want to say they're not going to be looking to criticize us. You never know. But yeah, I think if we just, put our own things up there and then we just share it when we meet, and we'll let it evolve. I can ask the the AG's office what if they have any.
Call it a content repository. You should never call it.
I'm sorry, Carly, I couldn't hear you.
I think you can call it a content repository. That's how we're using it, not a collaboration tool.
Conference depository. All right, I like that.
Content.
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
Content repository?
Content.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Will we be having a line item and have a budget?
No. No, we probably are going to have to raise funds because we're not we don't have a budget. We could ask for one once we have a firm idea of what we want to do. We can certainly then ask for money, but we have to know what we want to do first. But there is.
I could ask that since I was sworn in already. They say never talk about salary and money and.
Sorry. Hey, never hurts to ask. Oh, does somebody's waiting to get in? I don't know who that is.
So we're going to discuss meetings and frequency next.
I don't know if I'm going to admit there's a person waiting that just has a number. I don't know. We didn't have all of our participants, but I don't know, given the Zoom bombing, if they haven't identified themselves, should I let them in or not let them in? It's a public meeting, but I think I'm afraid. I can.
I am too, and you're right. In light of some of the challenges that people have had with Zoom, I would come down on the side of unless the individual has identified him or herself, not letting them in the meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know who that is. It's just a number.
It could be that they thought it started at 7, since the first email that came out said the meeting started at 7.
You think?
I'm just.
All right, so I'm gonna admit this person, and I'm gonna try to click really fast if it's not a good person. Is that all right, Phil? Or what do you want? I mean, I don't want to not admit the public.
If anyone else is okay with that, then that's fine. I would suggest that we not do that, and
Okay.
yeah, and you know, let folks know that if they do come late to meetings or whatever, they need to identify.
Okay, all right, then I'll leave it alone. I'm gonna remove it. Bye. There we go. There, now that's on public record.
Yep.
All right, so meeting times and frequency. I mean, I know that Tuesday worked for most people. It wasn't as comfortable for you, Sue, but are you able to, does Tuesday night work for most people? Sharice, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, Sharice, you can go first.
No, I was just putting a thumbs up.
Oh, okay. I would just ask if we could move to like 7. 6 is a little hard for my family. We work a little bit late.
I prefer 7 as well.
Okay. It's just my Tuesdays are my long days, and I'm here, you know, late, and that's okay. That's all right. 7 o'clock it is on Tuesdays.
I just have a quick question. How long do we anticipate these meetings are going to go?
I think it shouldn't be more than an hour, but you never know if we're on a roll, right? What do you guys think? What do you think, Phil?
I would say an hour. That was my expectation kind of coming into this, that we would be meeting, you know, an hour. And I guess, again, you know, depending on what we determine, I don't know if once a week is too much, if once every other, you know, month makes better sense. You know, again, we're at the beginning, and just, when I just look at this meeting, you know, and thinking about all the things that really need to be kind of considered and hashed out and so forth, there's a lot of things that, you know, that we're going to have to kind of work through. So I don't know where other people are, if weekly or bi-weekly works. I would think it needs to be more than once a month, but I'm not sure that, you know, weekly is, you know, is going to be too much. So. Any your thoughts?
I'm sorry, it was Trisha. It's Miss Cochrane. She just chatted.
I did let her in. Yeah, I did let her in. Hi,
I'm so sorry, guys. I had technical issues. I'm here. I apologize.
Were you the number that I wasn't letting in?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. It's a number, I'm afraid.
I am sorry. I apologize.
That's
So
okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
We have our board. I'll just fill Lauren in. So Phil Hicks is going to be our chair. Latasha Wright is going to be our vice chair, and Susan McKinnon is going to be our clerk. Okay. All right. And Tuesdays at 7, but we were just talking about how often to start until we get this mission statement nailed down. So Phil, you started to talk about that you thought once a week was too much for now. So
right, it felt like a lot to me, but I didn't know people were, if you know, once a week makes sense, or if you know, bi-weekly is a better approach. You know, because I do want to be mindful of other people's time and commitments as well. So you know, I think we need to kind of consider that. Any other thoughts, Brian? What's your take on that?
Okay, Brian said he's fine with once a week. I saw your chat there, Brian.
I'd also say that I don't know if you want to go around. I'm sorry, Phil.
Oh, no, that's okay. I saw we were about to say something and I just wanted to acknowledge that.
I would also say that I'm okay starting off more frequent and then maybe tapering as we go. So maybe we get through some organization and then like I'm okay with doing once a week and then going to bi-weekly. So I'm open either way.
I'm good with that as
Second
well.
that.
Okay.
Agree with that.
Richard, this is Latasha. I think I was that unknown number.
You were? Did you get bumped out and then you were trying to come in? You still, all right, well, I'm glad. Well, Lauren also was having trouble getting in, so sorry about that.
Proposal for the time.
I'm so glad I'm not going to be the one running these meetings. So Phil, you better get up on Zoom really quick because
Wait,
you're going to be, I'll fill you in later on how to, I'll send you the templates and the contacts and we'll get it. Oh, actually your clerk should probably know that too. So
Yeah, because I'll need access to everyone's email to email like the minutes, I think, prior to each meeting, right? Isn't that part of what we need to do?
yeah, that would be great. So does this mean next Tuesday at 7 we're going to meet? Is everybody in agreement with that? Do we?
Vince? Yep.
I can't see everybody. There we go. Can I see everybody now? Do we just raise thumbs up, raise hands? Okay. All right. So I'll post a meeting for next Tuesday at 7 o'clock.
And do we want to?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, do we want to agree at this point, since we've got a number of things that we're going to need to address? Should we look at doing the a weekly, schedule for the next 2 months, or just go weekly and then, revisit it, in a month and say if we want to continue it? How do we want to proceed?
Anybody have anything to say? Because otherwise I'm going to.
I'd prefer to just kind of do it ad hoc, like we plan on meeting next week, and then as we need to kind of cut down after we've accomplished some setup things, I think that'd be fine.
Okay, so just to make sure I understand, at the end of each meeting, we will determine whether we're going to do next week or the week after, or whatever.
And I'm going to go ahead and tell you all right now that our ballots are due to arrive next week. And then we're going to be slammed with trying to get those ballots out the door. And of course, that election is on a Tuesday night. So there might be a couple of meetings that I might not be able to stay on, or, I'll just kind of, so, and if I'm not here, it doesn't mean I'm not interested. It just means I got to get this election under our belt first. Okay.
That's great. Let me see what one. So, okay, so that sounds good. So then our next meeting then would be next week, 7 o'clock. And we will, at that point.
Continuation of our mission statement discussion. And then if anybody else has any other suggestions for agenda items or specific things they want to put on it, can you email them to Phil? I put all of our at least emails up on the website under the boards and commissions elected and appointed officials list. I know there was some concern about privacy and I didn't put anybody's address up. I just put our emails so that people can contact us. And I think the phone numbers are up too. Is that all right with everybody?
Yeah.
That's fine with me.
Okay.
I had one more question I meant to ask earlier. Is there any expectation from the select board on reporting back to them on progress? Do we need to factor that into our meeting discussions, what we report back and when?
Right. That's a great question. I was going to ask that myself.
I mean, I think we do want to plan on periodic updates to the Board of Selectmen. We'll probably be able to gauge when that will be as we make some progress as to, identifying what actions we're going to be taking or we're going to request to be taken. If we want people to come and join our meeting to give input. But I think we've got a little bit of work to do before we start worrying about when we're going to present. I mean, before the committee is, we get reappointed, we should definitely plan on having an update for the board, but I think periodic updates, they welcome that.
Okay. That's good. Okay. Well, from my review of the agenda, it looks like we've covered everything that was identified. Any areas, any items that we didn't fully explore, or things that folks would like to float for next week's meeting?
Bill, may I just say something real quick? I would like to maybe challenge everybody to think beyond just race and culture while we're developing the mission statement, because diversity is not just about race and culture. That is all.
Very good. Okay.
Sorry I was late. Can I ask what the marching orders are with regards to the mission statement, or if you guys discussed any aspects of it tonight?
Yep. Yes, we actually discussed some. Letitia was good enough to start us off with a version that she had put together. We made some additions to that, and there's going to be some discussion around, potentially posting that on perhaps Google Docs or some way for us to share some of the information that we reviewed. But definitely at our next meeting, we're going to continue to have the conversation. Unfortunately, I'm not a Zoom wizard, so I can't share with you the chat that Letitia put up with her information on it. Letitia, I don't know, is that something you could shoot out to the team, or is there an easier way? I'm not the strongest technology guy in the world, so I will say that right up.
We'll help you out, Phil.
Right, we'll help you out. So I'm sorry I didn't catch your name, but if you go to the bottom of your Zoom, there are 3 dots. And if you select it, you will see chat. And in there, you will see the draft mission statement and other comments that members have made. So we're going to try to combine as much as we possibly can to make a stronger mission statement for us to review at our next meeting.
I just had 2 thoughts. One being, if at the next meeting we could address address issues, putting our address out there. I think because of the nature of it being the diversity committee and how much animosity people have towards just its existence, that we should possibly consider not having our addresses be public.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I prefer that as well. That was a concern of mine. When I saw my application on the website, I was a bit concerned about privacy things.
Okay, just so that you know, our addresses are already of public record and anybody could find them if they wanted to, because we are obligated annually to produce a street listing, and it's got everybody that's a resident of Chelmsford listed in it if they're over 18 years old. But I did not put it on the elected and appointed officials list. So if somebody was looking just for the committee, they wouldn't see the addresses, but it is public record and they are going to be able to find addresses if they want to. But I heard that was part of the feedback. So that's why when we set up the committee in our database for our website, I did not put addresses in, and I'm not planning on populating that with addresses. But I just wanted you to be aware that even without the applications or even without the information on the board and committee database, that addresses are public record. So they can search them and find them pretty easily. So sorry about that.
Also, Ms. Cochrane asked the question in the chat about Google Docs. I didn't read it, but she, and we had talked about that, so.
No, I think someone said that what you had talked about was posted under the dots under chat, but it's not coming up for me. So if we do a Google Doc, that's fine. Once you get everybody's addresses, right?
Yeah. And the one thing that we mentioned about Google Docs, Lauren, is that we can post our own things up there, but we can't deliberate on Google Docs. We can't offer, a lot of opinions on that. We have to save it for when we meet publicly.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you.
Great. Any other issues, items, questions? Well, if that's the case, and I think we've reached the end of our first hour, and we've got a fair amount accomplished, and we'll have plenty more on our plates going forward.
Okay, motion to adjourn. There, Mr. Chairman, ask for a motion to adjourn.
Permission to adjourn.
I second the motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Hi.
Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Good night. Thank
All
you,
right,
Trish.
bye. See you next Tuesday.
Yeah.
All right.